Good morning, my name is Melissa Daniels and I have strabismus. Strabismus is when your eyes don't point together and aren't working together. And I have spent the last 4 or 5 years going through vision therapy and surgery, getting my brain to use my eyes together. And in this video, I'm going to talk to those of you who are wanting to do it on your own. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to fix their vision, fix their eyes, get them aligned and all of that. And I totally get it. So today we're going to talk about that and whether or not it's possible and in what way it is and is not. So we're going to get to that. Before we jump in, I want to make sure you know that you can go over to learn.strabismussolutions.com for all of the different resources that I have to offer. We've got a course, you can schedule calls with me, lots of free downloads. So be sure to check that out. Can you do your own vision therapy? The answer is definitely yes. It is definitely possible, but I believe that it's a lot more complicated than most people think. I have heard stories. There was this amazing dad in Russia who developed a vision therapy program for his daughter and was able to help her through that process. And that's amazing. I mean, he read the textbooks, he did all the things, and he figured it out for her, which is kind of beautiful. Also, there's many, many more stories of people who tried and were not successful. And to understand why, you kind of have to understand a little bit more about what's going on with strabismus. So strabismus is when your eyes aren't pointing in the same direction, right? That's kind of the definition, but there's so much more to it. It's happening a lot neurologically in the brain. Your left eye takes one picture, your right eye takes another picture, and your brain's job is to put those two pictures together so that you get one single image with depth. And for people with strabismus, something in that cycle is broken. We're not exactly sure which part, if the pictures aren't equal, or maybe if the pictures aren't lined up right, and so there's double vision. Sometimes the brain just cannot figure out, okay, I cannot figure out how to put those two together, so it'll be easier to just ignore one of the eyes. It's not just getting those eyes straight, right? You have to fix the neurology. You have to fix the brain and get the brain to accept both eyes. Once the brain is using both eyes and getting those equal pictures and being able to put those together, your eyes are gonna stay straight because your brain is using them together. There's an amazing optometrist named David Cook who wrote a book called The Shape of the Sky. And in this book, there are about 75 different exercises that are going to help the reader understand how their vision is working, understand space, understand this 3D world. And because there are a lot of exercises, I think, he was concerned people would take the book and say, well, I'll just use this and do my own therapy. And he gave the following quote in the beginning of the book that I love. Those who have successfully used an instruction manual to build a house, construct a nuclear weapon, or build a time machine should be able to make do with this manual. For the rest of us, professional care is advised. And I love that because, is it possible? Yes, you might be that dad from Russia who can read all the textbooks and learn about vision therapy and then provide this amazing program for your daughter that helps her. But most of us aren't that person. I know personally, I tried to do my own therapy and I missed a lot of the most important steps. I want to compare this to a bridge that my family and I have been building over the last 5 years. About 15 years ago, my dad took this property he had inherited from his parents and divided it into 10 lots and gave one to each of my siblings and step-siblings. So we all have these lots of land up in the beautiful valley of the Teton Mountains in Wyoming. And it's so amazing. And there's just this one problem that we couldn't get to the property because there's just ravine. Ravine is maybe a little bit too big of a word. It's not that huge, but there's a creek and then this ravine and then our property's up on top on this meadow. And so we couldn't actually get to that property. And 5 years ago, we decided it was time to build a road and a bridge so that we could access the property and eventually build on it and build a cabin. And in my mind, I thought, oh yeah, we'll build this bridge over the creek. In my mind, I'm like, I played in that creek when I was little. It's not that big. We just need to get some really strong boards and build up the banks of the river and then put the boards across. And there's probably something we have to do in the middle to support it. But in my mind, it was just I'm thinking, I have to get the boards across the river. That was the most, or not even boards, but metal, whatever it was. We had to get something across the river. And that was going to be the most challenging part in my mind. And if we think about this in terms of like a vision therapy journey for somebody with strabismus, what I thought in the beginning for my strabismus journey was I just have to get both eyes working, right? My right eye was doing, or my left eye was doing all the work. My right eye was shut off. And I thought, okay, I just have to wake up my right eye and then it'll all happen. And it couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I tried that. I got double vision. It was like, what? Come on, brain. Both eyes are awake now. Why aren't you using them? And so that's kind of what people think is like, oh, if I just get both eyes turned on, then we're going to be good to go. Well, that's about as accurate as me throwing a couple boards over this creek. Like, it's just, there's so much more to it. If we keep going on with this bridge comparison, the first step in building this bridge was building this insane foundation. I showed up at my dad's house to put together all this rebar, and I honestly had no idea what we were doing. I'm like, what is this? Like, what's with all the metal? And why are we having to tie all this together? And why is this so humongous? Like, this is like bigger than the river. And I thought, is this going to, I couldn't even visualize what was going on with that foundation. And, we're putting it together. And I still couldn't even see where we were going with it. And this probably is like in vision therapy when the doctor starts with all these random exercises that don't make any sense. They're working on primitive reflexes with your body where you're trying to like, you're walking like a duck across the room, or you're working on balance, these things. And it's like, what does this have to do with my eyes? Or building a foundation with peripheral vision. I am a huge advocate for building peripheral vision as the biggest part of the foundation that you can with vision therapy. And I have a course about it as well that you can check out. Tracking, getting your eyes to move smoothly, getting, all these things like are foundational. And sometimes, especially in the beginning of my therapy, I thought this is pointless. Most people who try to do their own therapy skip all of that. They're like, my eyes move fine. I have good peripheral. I can see on the sides. My body's, I don't need to, why would I work on like body movements? I have good balance, or I can walk across the room or run. And so we kind of think, I don't really need that part. That's not that important. In my mind, I'm like, the bridge it's not that big of a creek. Like, do we really need like this insane foundation? But we did. And it turned out we needed 2 of them. And I realized one was for each side of the creek. And then the part that really got to me is as we kept working on this bridge and, we're putting down the steel beams and all this, and you cover it all back up with dirt, you couldn't even see the foundation. Like, just like little tiny bits of it, you could kind of see at the top, but there was no way that you would know how much was below the surface. Same thing with your vision and strabismus. Like, you do all these random foundational exercises and you don't even see them. You don't notice them. You're not going to notice this huge change in your life based on those, but they are so important. They are what make the bridge even possible. They're what make the 3D vision even possible. And knowing what to do, like, we didn't just say like, I think we should have a foundation about this big. No, we hired like an engineer to draw up the plans. And then my brother and dad are also engineers, and so they could actually follow the plans. Not me. But there was plans drawn up, and they had to go through like all the codes and what was required for certain things. Like, it was so much bigger. That's the optometrist. They're like studying your visual system, and they're creating this plan. Like, this is the foundation this person needs, right? Okay, then we start putting on the beams and we start putting on the decking. Now, this is the part that everyone wants to jump to in vision therapy. They're like, red and green glasses, 3D movies, like all of these things. That's what my brain needs. And that's only after the whole foundation is built that you can do those, the more like iconic Brock string, those types of exercises. That's got to be after that foundation is built. I would have never had any idea how to do that if I had just tried to build the bridge on my own. If I just tried to throw the boards across, like, I wouldn't have met code, by the way, but I also wouldn't have been able to drive across the bridge. And maybe if I got some really great boards, I could have driven across the bridge 1 time, right? Or 5 times. There's no way it would have lasted. It wouldn't have lasted for 50 years or 100 years, right? It wouldn't have worked. I could have maybe gotten something to work for a bicycle, but not for a car or a cement truck. Same with our vision. You might do the Brock string and do these different exercises, and you will make some progress. But are you building a bridge that's going to last for 100 years? Or are you throwing the boards across and just doing the minimum so that you can get across that one time, but it's not going to actually last? What I want you to get from this video is that, yes, you could totally do your own vision therapy. Like my dad and brother built a bridge and I was their helper, right? They did it, but they knew they had so much background knowledge, right? Do you have that background knowledge? Do you know why your eyes are not pointing straight? Do you understand the neurology that's going on behind things and know how to build that foundation that goes 8 feet down into the ground to help support that binocular vision? Do you know that part? Maybe you do. Cool, go for it. But I think most of us do not have that knowledge and need the professional guidance, right? We need the optometrist helping us figure out what is going on inside of our heads. Now, if you don't have a vision therapy office that you go to and you're watching this video realizing like, yeah, I'm going to need professional help, fantastic. Guess what? There are optometrists all over the world that do vision therapy. And I have quite a large growing list of those types of doctors and how you can get a hold of them. So if you go to strabismussolutions.com/findvt, you can fill out the form there and I will send you my personal recommendations on vision therapy offices close to you. Most people live within an hour of a vision therapy office. They just don't know it. And you can go to them. They can be the engineer of your brain and help you get your eyes straight and get them working together. This is amazing, life-changing journey that you can pursue. I promise you it's worth it to invest in hiring a professional to help you along the way.